It is Monday, December 17th, 2012, and this is the last week of Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rense Radio Network. But this hour, the first hour, I have a gentleman on with me that I have come to admire and respect because of his sincerity, his candidness, and his honesty. I would like to welcome to the program Mr. Foster Freeze.
Well, Larry, you're way too kind with your characterization of me. I appreciate your kind remarks.
You know, Foster, I don't think I am. I've ran into an awful lot of people in the last 4.5 going on 5 years, especially in the last year with the political climate. And you truly are a unique gentleman in the fact that you are candid with your answers. You're extremely sincere in your beliefs. You don't play the political correct thing to try to score political points. And I think that's admirable, especially in this current climate where you don't know who's real and who's not anymore.
Well, I think that's a very important thing that could happen to our culture, and I believe, Lawrence, that the political environment has tarnished that so much because all the politicians know and the consultants know that negative ads work 5 times more effectively than positive ads. So you have a overdose during these election periods of just a lot of negativity, and I'm trying to launch off a little effort that you might be interested in and encourage you to find someone who's on the opposite side of your political spectrum, someone who doesn't share your political perspectives, and hook up to them, and 2 of you go together to fund a project that I'm excited about, providing fresh, pure water to places that don't have it. And you know there's like 5,000 people die a day just because of waterborne disease. So then once you can do that, each put in $10 or whatever, and you've partnered with that project, then find out something else you have in common. And there's so many things that we do share in common that we could work together on. I've developed a little domain. I bought a domain. It says left right forward march .com. It's not exactly a bumper sticker, but it's the whole idea. How do we get the left and the right to march together to make our country better and make people's lives better and focus on some real serious needs in terms of health and water and many other projects?
You know, I think that's something, and believe me, I will help you promote it, and I will definitely do what I can to be involved with it. Especially, you know, me personally, I had the opportunity of bringing a group of Tea Party-minded citizens and a group of Occupy protesters together on a stage in New York City in October. And it is absolutely amazing how when you put people on the same stage and you remove all of the distractions and the noise that everyone else is making, it's absolutely amazing how people can communicate with each other, can talk to each other in a respectful manner, explain each other's positions, and you are amazed at how much they actually do agree on with each other.
Well, I was just with Mark Meckler, who was one of the co-founders of Tea Party Patriots, excuse me, which now I think has like 23 million adherents, and he's working very hard on the same area, and he will speak to a group of what might be left of center, and he says, how many of you here voted for a $1 trillion deficit? No hands go up. He says, isn't that interesting? I just spoke at a Tea Party event last night, and no one there voted for it either. And then he goes through a whole series of things that people really don't want, neither group, and so we have some common ground that we can make our country better if we just hook together and listen to one another.
I'm going to remind you of a question I asked you the very first time I met you, and that was at CPAC Chicago on June 8th of this year. And I looked you in the eye and I asked you if you thought, with the political climate in the Conservative and Republican Party, if you thought the Republican Party was going to be able to bring its own people together enough to defeat Barack Obama in November. And you gave me an honest answer. You said it's going to be a difficult job, and we'll see.
Yeah, it's amazing how the Democrats are much more effective at this, and I don't know why exactly it is. I know if Nancy Pelosi says, we need to vote for this bill, and if you don't vote for it, no bridge in your district, and we're taking away your chairmanship, that apparently seems to be pretty effective, where you get a lot of people to vote the way one person wants them to vote. So there is a definite unity to that whole effort. And I'm told several Democrats in Pennsylvania who voted against Obamacare were removed in the election process by running people who were more left of those. So the Democrats do a very good job of maybe purging the people that don't go with the party line, so to speak. But I also think that the Republicans do the same thing. They just seemingly aren't as good at it, unfortunately. So I've tried to encourage Reince Priebus and Haley Barbour when he was head of the Governors Association, and also McConnell and Boehner to get in front of TV cameras and say, hey, this is our GOP health care plan. And Boehner says, it's like herding cats, and McConnell says, you think I can get DeMint and Olympia Snowe on the same page? So it's very, very frustrating as someone who, I don't call myself a conservative, Lawrence. I call myself a fan or champion of founding principles. And I think you look at many of the things that I believe in are quite progressive, if you would, in terms of allowing parents to make a choice for their kids as to how they get educated and some of the ideas they have on health care. So it's, I think, why part of the reasons why the Republicans lost, but also I'm just so impressed with the way the Democrats make things happen. I'm told that President Obama left a lot of his offices in these key states in place since the last election, and therefore they're out there, having barbecues and dinner parties, convincing people in the neighborhood how to vote. And I wound up last day of the election in a Reno, Nevada phone bank trying to dial up some guy who's I wasn't even sure I could pronounce his name correctly. So I think we have to change our tactics.
Well, that goes back to something else. That was another question that I asked you, and we talked about, and you told me something in our Chicago interview that also impressed me, and that was that for every no, there's got to be a yes to something, that it can't just simply be no, 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 no. And it's amazing that people in the Republican Party didn't heed that advice, not even from you or from others who really were trying to keep this America that we've all enjoyed the freedoms from, loved, and enjoyed the fact that we can express our religion and worship however we please. It's amazing that, in this past election, people just simply ignored people. It was almost like it was a race to see who could score enough political points to keep their foot in a political door.
I think, Lawrence, part of that is, too, is the way our system is structured, is where a lot of the people who are in the political process for candidates, they get a percentage of the media buys, so therefore you have an enormous amount of television ads run, and the grassroots is seemingly much more effective, where you get people for nothing. You don't expend the money, but you just talk to them and say, look, here's what we need in terms of separating private health insurance from employment. And I worked on a project to come up with a reform idea for health care that, I was asked by Newt Gingrich to see if I could come up with something, which I presented to some key members in Congress. They all liked it, but the reason that it didn't get any place is the response is, well, if we introduce something, then the Democrats will attack it and shoot it down, and we won't have the energy to try to attack Obamacare. Well, then when Obamacare passed, it was still the same argument. There was no opportunity to rally people behind, because they said, well, we need a presidential nominee who will then lead us. Well, I said, if Mitt Romney gets the nomination, do we want to really be led in that direction for health care? I'm a huge fan, Lawrence, of high deductible policies and health savings accounts. In Indiana, Mitch Daniels there had like 70-80% of his government workers opting for these health savings accounts because they save money, they get much better responses because the doctor-patient relationship is restored. So you're on to something very fundamentally flawed about our Republican activities for sure, and it's quite discouraging, I must say the least.
Well, I will tell you, we had Dr. Elena George, and I will forward you the information because I think she has an idea here that you might actually like and pass on. She was telling us that she's more favorable to people taking catastrophic insurance policies and doing a cash for services with doctors. And there's several organizations of doctors, including a Christian one called MediShare, that guarantees 100% payment of health expenses. Do me a favor, Foster, hang tight here. We're coming up on commercial break. You're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network. We are speaking with Mr. Foster Fries this hour. We'll be right back.
Scientists in England have succeeded in stabilizing the time-honored substance in garlic that destroys harmful bacteria, viruses, molds, yeast, and fungus. This all-natural microbe killer is called Allicin C, and it's now available to you in 100% vegetarian capsules only on the New Earth page at Rents.com. This powerful broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent is harmless to friendly bacteria and has been concentrated to equal an astonishing 35 cloves of garlic in each vegetarian capsule. Think about it. The antibacterial, antiviral strength of 35 odorless cloves of garlic in just one capsule. Allicin C is so effective it even destroys superbug MRSA in test after test. Allicin C is truly an incredible advance in natural medicine, and with the threats of bacterial and viral diseases and pandemics growing, no home should be without it. Learn more and order Allicin C on the New Earth page at Rents.com.
Remember this name, Carnivora. That's CARNIVORA.com. What if I told you that this 100% pure and natural product was delivered directly to the White House at President Reagan's personal request at a time when only the president was able to obtain it? Reagan used this amazing product, Carnivora, successfully, a product derived only from nature that has the intelligence to instinctively attack abnormal cells only without harming a single normal cell, and the power to actually wake up critical immune cells from dormancy to attack foreign invaders that don't belong in our bodies. Carnivora is now obtainable by anyone who wants to get healthy and stay that way. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and protect yourself with 17 naturally occurring compounds that will unleash powerful immune defense. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and get your Carnivora today. Visit carnivora.com.
Known worldwide as the most consistently fascinating, informative, and unique program on radio, the Jeff Rense program can be yours to listen to anytime, anywhere, whenever you want to hear it. For pennies a day, our subscribers can download any of Jeff's thousands of programs featuring a treasury of newsmakers, researchers, eyewitnesses, and incredible subjects, all in MP3 commercial-free, crystal-clear 56-bit digital sound, and take these often unforgettable programs with them wherever they go. As a subscriber, you can also listen live at airtime, online, anywhere in the world, or browse through our archives of over 10,000 hours of legendary broadcasts. Subscribe now by taking the link at the top of Rents.com and enrich your mind with the most unique panorama of vital information and the best independent, honest journalism in radio. Look for the Subscribe Now link on Rents.com and give yourself the knowledge you need for these unprecedented times.
And welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network. We're speaking with Foster Fries, And Foster, before we went to commercial, you were talking about you were in favor of high deductible insurance policies and medical savings accounts, and I was telling you about Dr. Elena George. We had her on the program. Some of our listeners actually started looking into the MetaShare and the MetaBid organizations, and it turns out that these are similar to co-ops. The MetaShare one's actually a Christian co-op. The only requirement is that each member be a member of a church somewhere within the United States. And a friend of mine said that they looked into it, and it was absolutely amazing how much cheaper it would be for them to have coverage and help with medical expenses than a regular insurance policy.
Well, I think that's a stunning idea because we don't really have health insurance in the United States. It's called that, but it's really prepaid health care. If you look at your auto insurance, how much more expensive would it be, Lawrence, if the government in the various states required that you had to cover transmission repairs, tire replacements, headlight replacements, windshield wiper replacements, and gas refills? Do you think your premiums for your car insurance might be just a little bit higher? But yet people don't see that that's exactly what we've done with our healthcare system, where in Connecticut, for example, you have to pay a premium which includes the ability to get a hair transplant. And you have all these different kinds of mandates embedded within the policy, which some people in the field who are experts say could add 30 to 50%. The idea you talked about, another friend of mine who's a very influential doctor here in Jackson hooked up with a doctor in Idaho, and they have a system where it'd be direct pay, where you
exactly
put money in the account, and the doctors will take 70-80% of what the normal fee is. Think also, how expensive would your groceries be if you walked in the grocery store? There were no prices anyplace, no prices, and the person helping you load the basket get 5% of everything goes in there. They're not going to take you to the bean and rice counter, and they're going to take you over to the filet mignon and sea bass counter. And then when you get to the checkout counter, someone else picks up your bill. And that's what we've done with healthcare. So the major problem in our country has never really been access, because if an illegal immigrant here in Jackson gets hit by a bus in the middle of the street, or if some person goes up on top of the mountain here and skis and throws out their ACL with no insurance, they get hauled to the hospital. So the question is, how do we reduce the cost of health care? And I think we have to realize that the government takeover of health care now is not going to reduce the cost. It's going to make less things available. We're going to lose a lot of our choice, and I think that's why so many people are opposed to the existing system that President Obama wants to take over the other 50% that the government now doesn't control.
You know, during the past election cycle, you were the recipient of an awful lot of vicious attacks because you supported Rick Santorum's candidacy and other things. And you were painted by some in the media as being just another, rich, loaf individual that had absolutely no idea what the average man goes through. I've talked to you. I've actually stood next to you and watched you and talked to you, and I had the privilege of finding out that you actually just rode a bull in a rodeo somewhere.
Well, I did shoot a big 14-foot crocodile, but I think this whole idea that I'm not tuned into the normal guy. I grew up in a town of 5,000 people, and I saw how hard everybody worked in my class. Half of them were farm kids, and they'd leave after school to get help with the chores. They'd get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock to help their dad with the chores before they went to school. And when I came out of the Army, my wife and I had $800 of accumulated leave pay, a 62 Volkswagen, a baby, a hide-a-bed, and a TV, and a wash machine. And she would sew the kids' clothes, my clothes, not my clothes, the kids' clothes, her clothes, the draperies, the cushion, the couch coverings. She mopped the floors, did the cooking. We never went out for the first year to a restaurant, nor did we even order in a pizza. So for someone to say that I don't know what the common everyday guy goes through, I was a common everyday guy until I created a successful firm and was able to become extremely wealthy because I provided a service that allowed people to grow their assets so they could provide for their kids' education, their retirements, and provide for their favorite charitable activity. So it's kind of amusing how the points you make of how I was characterized as by people who had never met me, didn't know anything about my background. And
exactly.
So I really, my whole love of how I want to spend my wealth is how do we help the guy that's kind of at the bottom of the rung? And that's why I'm excited about this fresh water activity, where you see people who are drinking water that looks like coffee and it's filled with bugs and all kinds of cruddy stuff. So I'm oriented towards that. And then Lynn and I have started some mobile medical units, which put a 18-wheeler out into the community that's indigent area. And in Tulsa, for example, 7,000 patients were treated in this medical van who didn't have insurance or health care. So for someone to say, I don't appreciate the little guy, I am a little guy who just happened to strike it rich.
You know, hold tight on that one, because when we come back from commercial, I'm going to ask you to tell me where you get your inspiration for your philanthropy from. I already know the answer to this question, but I want to hear you tell me. And then I want to talk about your wife's books and where you're going to be coming up for the next year or so, because I'm going to be following you very closely, young man.
Okay, Lawrence, I appreciate your shadowing me. You're a good man.
You're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rense Radio Network. Hang tight. We'll be back with Foster Freeze after these brief breaks.
If the stars were by my side, I heard Lady Liberty lost her crown. As I was searching for my country at the lost and found, fell in love at first sight, messing around. He had the cutest little nose against the window at the door he found. I'm American made.
Charlie McGrath of Wide Awake News here with an important message from Chris, Phil, Russ, Tyler, and the rest of the folks at BuyEmergencyFoods.com. Do not wait until it's too late to be prepared for disaster. The world's a crazy place. Ever-present threat of man-made political and economic crisis makes it important to be prepared. But when you factor in natural disasters, it goes from being important to being mandatory. 7.7 earthquake in Canada, 6.5 earthquake in Central America, and over 50 million Americans affected by Hurricane Sandy, all in the span of just a few days. Make Legacy Premium freeze-dried storable food part of your preparedness plan today. Legacy Premium tastes great, has a 25-year shelf life, and is the only certified non-GMO freeze-dried storable food in the business. I recommend the 360-serving package. That's 120 days worth of life-sustaining calories for about $1.25 a serving. Please call them at 888-543-7345. Again, 888-543-7345, or better yet, visit them online at BuyEmergencyFoods.com.
American Masters Painting, a family-owned and operated business beautifying homes in Northern Virginia for over 30 years. American Masters craftsmen serve all of your painting, staining, and wood refinishing needs. American Masters not only guarantees to deliver satisfying results, they also promise a positive, rewarding, and personalized experience to your complete satisfaction. American Masters Painting is recognized for its flawless expertise in all custom interior and exterior projects. For a free and timely estimate, contact American Masters Painting toll-free at 888-760-7760 or visit AmericanMastersPainting.com. And remember, when you're thinking American Masters Painting, you're thinking one family serving another, one project at a time. American Masters Painting is a proud sponsor of Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rense Radio Network.
You're listening to the Rense Radio Network, coast to coast on the Galaxy 19 KU band satellite, nationwide and worldwide on the Internet, and of course, on Rense.com.
Are chemtrail geoengineering programs changing our weather and destroying our environment? Why in the world are they spraying?
They want to create a storm in the southeast, then they'll start engineering out over the North Pacific. That's where the tragedies will be.
Find out why critics are calling Why in the World Are They Spraying the most important film that is revolutionizing the environmental movement.
It's just going to get worse until the point where we're not going to be able to grow anything at all unless it's a Monsanto genetically modified, abiotic stress resistant seed.
Why in the World Are They Spraying? New international version with languages available from around the world. For 1 month, Rinse listeners receive free shipping. Go to the banner on the front of the Rinse website and click on the link for more info.
It's all about money, and weather is another form of commoditizing, a way the Central Command Group can commoditize another form of our life.
Why in the world are they spraying?
And if you control the weather, you're going to control the planet. It's that simple.
Will 2012 bring the Mayan end of world or the global banking collapse? In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. This week, Mike unleashes 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
You're my soldier boy, a man amongst men. You're my soldier boy, a man amongst men.
And we are back talking with Foster Freeze. For listeners who don't know much about Foster, I encourage you to go to fosterfreeze.com. And you can get a whole bunch of information on the gentleman, as well as signing up to be part of the Express Writers and the Foster Freeze Campfire blog, which we politely link to on our website because we actually like the guy. Foster?
Yes.
Where do you get your inspiration for your philanthropy?
Well, I was having a very troubled life, Lawrence. My wife and I were flirting with divorce. We burned out 5 sets of counselors. My kids and I were estranged. I started a company back in '74, and it's making over $100,000 a year, which is a big deal for a kid who grew up in a small town of 5,000, where the richest guy in town was the mobile gas station operator, the undertaker, and the guy that ran the feed mill. And so I was getting bored with my job, and my life was pretty a mess. And so someone helped me understand the concepts that Pascal articulated centuries ago. I think he was some kind of a mathematician or something, but Pascal said within each person there's a God-shaped vacuum waiting to be filled. And so I kind of woke up to the fact that maybe God wasn't a very important part of my life and wasn't even part of my life at all. So I did what millions of people have done. I invited Jesus Christ to become chairman of the board of my life and take control of my life and turn me into the kind of person he wanted me to be. And that suddenly things got immediately worse because my poor wife had an in-house TV evangelist with no off button, and my kids went to a fairly liberal school. And so when I decided, okay, each meal now we're going to thank God for the food, that went over like a lead balloon. And then I said each week we're going to, just open up the Bible and see what the operator's manual for the human machine has to say. And one of my favorite verses is Galatians 5:22. The fruits of the Spirit are peace, patience, kindness, joy, self-control. Against these there is no law. So if I have self-control, there's no way I can now say to my wife, Lynn, you made me angry, because then she's in control. So I was speaking to a group of 150 Tea Party leaders, and I said, so no one can possibly say anything in this room that could offend me because I've decided not to be offended. Whereupon someone said, you're a liberal. I said, now that offends me. So I cling to my founding principles and find that many of the folks on the liberal perspective have many good ideas, which I'm now realizing I could play a role in our culture by trying to help them. For example, there's a fellow named Philip Howard. I don't know if he's exactly a liberal, but I doubt he's not a conservative Republican. And he's working on something called the regulation. He wrote a book, Life Without Lawyers, and how we've gotten so jammed with regulations that we can't go left or right. And for instance, in the school districts in Delaware, they'll have a principal, a superintendent of schools, and they will tell him how many computers he has to have, how much he has to spend to patch the driveway, and how many hours of certain classes he has to teach. And so just turn him loose and say, look, these are the results we want, now you go get them for us. So even on a state level, we have an enormous amount of regulation of our life, and this is something that he was able to rally all kinds of people on the far left. I think, if I'm not correct, he had like Jon Stewart on board with an effort called Start Over. So what I would like, any of your listeners to hop on the website and tell me ideas that they would like to achieve, and pick ones that they think I could agree with. And now, knowing that I'm sort of to the right of Santorum, there's a lot of things they know I'm not going to buy into. So just find things that we could work. Another lady I know has got a lot of liberal entities backing her, and she is in Austin, Texas, and wants to provide medical record privacy. I think she has something called patientprivacy.org, something like that. Anyway, she has a lot of people who would like to keep their medical records private, and so now we have all these companies mining it and getting information.
Exactly.
And so there's another project that left and right could join together, and I'm sure there's lots of them. So my mission going forward now is to try to help all those liberals who have projects that I could embrace and help them accomplish them.
Now, you do know that with that statement, you and I both are going to immediately be attacked by the far right, calling you a traitor.
Well,
but
actually,
that's okay. We've been called worse.
Yeah, see, I don't. I think the people on the right, they need to have some sense of, if we can work together, there are some things we can accomplish. When I was working on this healthcare reform, I met with many Democrats, some of whom had run for office, and we all agreed that private health insurance should be separated and divorced from employment. The employer doesn't pay your car insurance. The employer doesn't pay your home insurance. And the only reason they pay the health insurance is because of when wage controls went in, the companies could not compete for workers based on increased salaries. So the IRS bought in the idea and it agreed to let them to offer benefits, retirement benefits, health care benefits. And it's only that tradition. So if we could separate that, you could buy a health care policy you could keep your whole life, like you probably keep your car insurance or homeowners. You don't shift that every time you change jobs. So it would give people mobility between jobs. They wouldn't have to worry, gee, if I try to leave this company and go to another company, I might not have benefits. So the left and the right really rally behind that one concept, and I'm sure there's many more out there that my right-wing friends would give me the green go sign to go work with the liberals to make it happen.
See, and this goes back to the Occupy versus Tea Party debate that I was telling you about in New York on October 27th. You have to understand, to see David Webb, and I don't know, are you familiar with David Webb?
I don't know David, no.
Okay. Well, David's the conservative Sirius XM radio talk show host that's quite often a guest on Hannity. And then you've got Pamela Geller, who are sitting on the right. And then we've got these kids from Occupy. And when you see them engaging in a constructive and respectful debate for 2.5 hours nonstop live on stage, and then at the end you see these two sides coming together, hugging each other, exchanging phone numbers and email addresses, and smiling and joking with each other, and then to see them leave the theater, go 3 doors down to a bar, and sit there and talk for another 4 hours, that they don't have to do that, and enjoy the conversation that they're engaged in.
I think that's a wonderful thing you've done, Lawrence. I encourage you to do as much as that you can and help me do it.
And see, that's what I think people really need to do. Hang tight, Foster. We're coming up to the last commercial break. When we come back, I do want to talk about, as a father, as a grandfather, what has happened in Connecticut this past Friday affects you and where you think we need to go as a country. We'll be right back with Foster Freeze. You're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rense Radio Network.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
Are you prepared for the future? Do you know how to navigate past the upcoming dangers before it's too late and seize budding opportunities before others do? Forecasting worldwide since 1980, Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal, provides timely and accurate trend forecasts that have earned him the reputation as the most trusted name in trends. The proof is in the hundreds of accurate forecasts Celente has made over the past 30 years. The 1987 stock market crash, the clean food trend, the dot-com bust. The Trends Journal alerts subscribers to early, subtle signs of crucial trends that will shape our future. It allows readers to anticipate change, recognize the implications, and take proactive strategies. Put your money where your mind is with Gerald Celente's brilliant and indispensable Trends Journal. Go to trendsjournal.com or call 845-331-3500. That's 845-331-3500.
Speaking with Foster Freeze. I do encourage you to go to fosterfreeze.com. Check out the Campfire blog. Foster writes articles and has a way of saying things that will at least pique your interest and won't come across as if somebody's trying to shove something down your throat. For a man to be in the position that he is in, he is the most down-to-earth, approachable individual that I have had the privilege of meeting in my lifetime. And he says that I overflatter him, but I don't think so.
Well, Lawrence, you talk to my wife and she'll tell me I've got a lot of reasons to be humble.
Well, speaking of your wife, I've never met her. I've never spoken to her. I was one of the lucky ones of the Express writers that received a Thanksgiving card from you and your wife. And it was through that card that I even realized that your wife is the author of 4 children's books. And I contacted her through her Amazon page, asking if maybe we could work something out to where we could give away one each of her 4 children's books through this radio program, which we recently did. And I can tell you that I've got pictures, and I think I even sent you one of them, of one of the families that won one of the books, with the parents actually reading the book with the kid, and the young child being extremely interested in what she was seeing on the pages. You've got this tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, Friday, the shooting at an elementary school. We've got 20 children, basically babies, that have been taken away from their families. what does that do to you? You're a father. You're a grandfather. I mean, what does that make you feel when you see and hear something like that?
I think it intensifies my excitement of trying to help as many people as possible see how sacred and special life is. You know, there's a story about the fellow who goes to visit his wife in the nursing home, and they say, "Why do you bother to go visit her? She has Alzheimer's. She has no idea who you are." And he responds, "Yes, but I know who she is." And I think if we honored more the life that's in the womb, the life that seems to be worthless, we could have a completely different culture. And so one of my things I'd like to do, in addition to earlier mentioning trying to bring people on the left and the right together by work on common projects and help them see the commonality they had, is also to help people realize how important the Judeo-Christian value system on which our country is founded is for non-believers. If I mentioned earlier, the whole idea of the fruits of the Spirit of we can decide if we want to be angry, we can decide if we want to be offended, but also the notion of hate sin but love the sinner. How many times you have a little 8-year-old kid punch his 5-year-old sister, and the father says, "You're a bad kid, you're terrible, you're going to go to reform school to keep that up," rather than saying, "Johnny, you're the greatest little guy on the planet, I love you so much, but what you did was wrong." So we have a whole culture that has abandoned some of those very basic Christian principles of loving people, but maybe not necessarily embracing the actions that aren't positive. So I think the tragedy that occurred there could be tied into the fact that we kind of ask God to get out of our schools, we ask God to get out of our government, get out of our lives, and He's listening to us. I grew up in a time when you could go to the airport and not have to go through a metal detector. You'd walk right up to the gate and greet your visiting passenger. And I think what has happened is there's the attempt to secularize our society and ridicule the religious faiths, whatever they might be. And I think that's a very dangerous trend where we now look to the state rather to our faith to make things happen. We have a decision. Do we want to be governed by rules and regulations, or do we want to be inspired by values and virtues? And if we can each have our own little control center that decides if we do right or wrong, that's going to be a lot more effective than if we have a police force with bayonets telling us what's right or wrong and enforcing it. So to me, this tragedy will emphasize again what's happened to the debasement of our culture. I was just at a ranch, and there's a little ranch manager's kid. He couldn't have been 5 years old. He's playing one of these video games, and I was watching him, and he was pushing his little button, and he said 3 kills. And there was this laser type thing going out of this little figure he was manipulating, and it said 7 killed. So I think you add up all the exposure we have on TV of ridiculing values, ridiculing Christians, ridiculing. I think that's the price we're paying for these kind of incidents, and it doesn't have anything to do with guns. I think if you could have some kid decide to build a bomb if there wasn't a gun. And so we have to get back to a culture where we encourage virtue, and we all are, the lust and the evil just lays skin deep between us, so in each of us. So how do we have something that can kind of reach out to help us realize we are our brother's keeper, and God created us to be His hands and feet in a hurting world, to be a channel of His love to others, and He created us to be a blessing to every person He put in our path. And the more we can get people who are non-believers to realize that, I think that's the secret to how we end these kind of tragedies.
It's absolutely amazing to hear you telling me the loving the sinner and hating the sin, especially when I don't know if you saw it, but one of the fathers who lost his daughter came out and spoke before the press. I believe he came out and spoke Sunday night. It may have actually been Saturday night. And that was the first thing he said, and he actually expressed his sympathy and condolences to even the families of the shooter. And he made it perfectly clear that that's what his daughter, if she had been standing there that day, that's the kind of love that she would have displayed as well, and not because it was anything in how he or his wife had parented their daughter, but that was just the inherent love and goodness that she had been given through her Heavenly Father.
Yeah, do you remember also, Lawrence, how many, 10 years ago, remember when the similar thing happened in the Mennonite community? They killed, 15, 17 people? The whole Mennonite community forgave the guy. You remember when the Pope was almost assassinated? He went to the guy's jail in Turkey, I think, and forgave him. We just have so much potential to move beyond the nastiness that exists in our culture if we'll just all get excited about, okay, how do we get there? How do we get that kind of attitude that father expressed and the Mennonites expressed? And that I'm excited to try to promote that and encourage it.
That was the one thing that you and I have talked about when we've had an opportunity to talk. It's just, to me, it's absolutely amazing that we no longer look at each other with respect. It's gotten to a point in our society where it's so easy to attack people and call them names and accuse them of everything in the book. And I quoted a very wise man who once told me that he doesn't look at what someone has done in the past, but he looks at what they're capable of doing in the future. And that wise man continues to even make me open my eyes and see things differently. And I want to thank that wise man who just happens to be on this program, and that's you, sir. You're just wait till you got to put all this nice things in an email and send it to my bride. I can always use some points once in a while, but Lawrence, you're so kind and it is true. My success in business, coming from the very humble beginnings that I expressed earlier in the show, truly was linked to embracing these concepts that Jesus taught and looking at every person. Okay, they made mistakes in the past. Everyone has. And not only looking at where they've been or even looking where they're at, but what each of us can become. And I look at every person I meet and say, 2, 3, 4 years from now, whatever influences we can bring to bear that are positive, that person's going to be a lot better than he is today. And that's the thrill of walking around every day and interacting with people. And Rick Santorum catches so much grief from a lot of quarters, and I was so touching when I was with him on the campaign trail 4 different times for 2 days each, and he was interviewed by a pastor in a church, and he's asked, what's your favorite Bible verse? And I was stunned when he said, pray for those that persecute you. And to see how much grief he takes from certain segments of the population, but doesn't bear any malice and doesn't have any hatred in his heart, it hurts him deeply to receive the abuse that is heaped upon him. It's very hurtful for him and for his beautiful young kids that are just so wonderful, nice kids, and to see the abuse that their father has to take. But yet he doesn't have the animosity, and actually is a champion of how do we create a society and a culture that will then flow through our political system, where we get rid of the corruption and the dishonesty. And I just can't. I'm amazed, Lawrence, that Nancy Pelosi's district out in the South has got health care waivers in April of last year that comprised 20% of the health care waivers granted in the whole country. Can you imagine? It's like a banana republic, and nobody seems to care because we've become so inured to the corruption. And I want to go on record and say I'm not pro-business. I'm pro-free markets, because we have too much crony capitalism that allows businesses to get into the pockets of the taxpayers and get all kinds of contracts and favorite benefits back and forth. And we have to try to separate big business from big government, from big labor, from big education, from maybe big religion, and let the smaller entities thrive and prosper, which right now our system works against that. It's hard to be a little guy in this world, and so one of the things that resonated in Santorum's campaign is to help the workers who are in the manufacturing area and to be able to provide opportunities for the smaller businesses as opposed to the big corporations, which have the staff to deal with all these crazy regulations. Where a small business person, they don't have the ability to do that. Well, I will tell you something, Foster. I've seen the different things that have been directed at you and others throughout the past year in the political spectrum. I do understand why some in the conservative movement find you a threat, because you're willing to do something that a lot of conservatives and Republicans simply are not willing to do or haven't found a way to do, and that is to hold discussions with those that don't necessarily agree with them and to try to work things out to where they can come up to a solution. And as long as you continue to try to bring people together, there's always going to be people that are going to try to tear you down. And I just want to tell you, thank you so very much for coming on the program this hour. I needed to have you on once before we go off the air Friday night.
Well, Lawrence, let me know where your career takes you. You're a talented guy with a real, I'm touched by your heart. You have a wonderful compassion for your fellow man, and God's going to use you in big ways in the years ahead. You're still a young guy. I'm 72. You've got a lot of years to do some wonderful things, and I want to be helpful and supportive to whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Foster. And please give your wife my sincere thanks for allowing us to give away her books.
Oh, she really enjoyed that so much, Lawrence. And you have a great Christmas time and great New Year. And I hope this season is particularly meaningful for you in many ways.
Thank you, Foster. Merry Christmas.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And we'll be back with the second hour of Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rinse Radio Network after this break and the news.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at rinse.com. Look for the New Earth banner at rinse.com.
Hi, this is Jeff Rentz. Royal Raymond Rife was without question the most gifted medical scientific genius of our age. He discovered that most disease-related microbes die quickly when exposed to their own specialized resonant radio frequencies. The BCX 411 Rife-type frequency instrument has received the highest praise on several continents for its precision, simplicity of operation, and successful research experiment. The BCX, with its comprehensive manual, allows you to select the frequencies you wish to experiment with for the length of time you want to run them. The BCX handheld plasma ray tubes and RF radio carrier